right by our JUCO field, there was a river, and there's a big riverbank, and it was all clay.
So you guys would take the river clay?
So we would have somebody who worked on the mound would take a wheelbarrow and a shovel down to the river. So he'd walk with a wheelbarrow and a shovel all the way down to the river and then chop out a bunch of clay into the wheelbarrow.
This is the most JUCO thing I have ever heard. Like, I mean, that's some grittiness. That, I mean, taking pride in your work too. Of like, yeah, we got the clay ourselves. Like, yeah, this is what we do. Like, that's even cooler.
Somebody's like, we don't know how to fix a mound. I'm like, dude, I don't even need the bags. Just let me know where a river is.
Welcome back to the Night Pitch, episode 19. Justin, Wick, Evan Johnson. We're here to talk about game day jobs. We're here to talk about the positions that might not necessarily be on the billing for what you realize that you're going to get yourself into when it comes into a baseball season. When you get into a higher position, sometimes you got to be the bucket guy for batting practice. Sometimes you got to clean up the dugout after the game. Sometimes you got to pick up the bus. Sometimes you got to be on the radar gun. Sometimes you've got to... What else is there? What else are some of the jobs that come up?
You got to be on balls.
Balls, yeah. Umpire. There you go. Oh, you got to be the bat boy. You got to be the ball guy.
Yeah, or you got to be the bat boy sometimes.
That's right. There you go. The home run duties on batting practice. If you got to go get the home run balls.
It's usually a freshman thing.
Yeah, that's usually more of an amateur type of setting. I guess this is good if we just get them out onto the floor to start this episode, and then we can sort them. I know the radar gun duty, if you're behind home or you're in the stands on the radar gun.
Foul balls is pretty brutal.
Foul balls, yeah.
If you are in a setting where you get foul balls, that's a brutal one.
Like, you're finally on the varsity high school team, and the first foul ball, somebody on it, and then everybody just looks at you, and then you gotta go and get it.
You're like looking underneath all these cars in the parking lot.
We can do an entire episode about getting your own foul balls. Oh my goodness. I mean, that kind of covers, I think that, I mean, those are the primary ones. I get that it's a little bit different everywhere you go. I guess you could say there's even like dugout duties of like in amateur levels. Sometimes you might need an actual scorekeeper of somebody filling out the book. I think that's a pretty considerable one. I think those are enjoyable too, because some people enjoy keeping score. Like, I actually enjoyed keeping the book because it keeps you engaged. It keeps you locked into what's going on. There's a lot of people that don't, though. I think this is part of the joy of this, is because a lot of these evaluations are very subjective. Like, some people don't mind doing the bucket for batting practice. I think most people don't like doing the bucket for batting practice.
Yeah.
But I think that's the paramount one that comes to mind. I mean, I think that it's probably more of a universal one that, for those that maybe don't know, standard batting practice configuration, you've got the L screen and the portable mound. You've got the turtle or the cage, whatever you want to call it, the big cage that goes over home plate. And then typically you will set up nets. One is in front of first base, one is in front of second base, and then one is in like shallow center field. And right behind that one in shallow center field is the bucket that everybody throws baseballs from the outfield to the bucket. They pick them up, they run them back to the pitcher. Cycle continues. So you're essentially the feeder of collecting all of the balls, but you're the one that has to pick them all up. And so people are throwing baseballs at you all over the place. I would say that's kind of the general consensus of it's one of the least coveted jobs that actually does exist outside of actually playing. And I've always been curious about the best strategies. Like, how do you pick objectively who participates in that on a day-by-day basis?
Well, it's also one of the most dangerous jobs as well.
That's true, yeah.
Because you have outfielders who are getting their reps and they'll throw it at the bucket like thinking you're looking, or they know you're not looking and they just don't care, and you almost get drilled like 3 times. Every time you do bucket, you almost get hit, and then you're like going around the screen to go get a ball, and then somebody hits a laser beam up the middle.
Yeah.
Almost crushes
That's
you.
probably the most dangerous one as far as, I mean, you got to watch out for the batted balls too. And those nets are only so big. And then if it's a windy day, the net might tip over and then nobody's going to stop batting practice. So then you got to find a way to get the net up while people are hitting and throwing them at you.
I've seen a lot of times where the net falls on the bucket guy because he's facing the outfielders, and it just falls and just smashes them. But yeah, one of those dangerous jobs for sure.
Yeah, it's funny to me as far as like looking at different places that I've played and how it's configured. I know some teams, they'll actually have 2 bucket guys in foul territory, which I don't even know if that's a safer alternative, because if somebody turns on one and just hits an absolute seed down the line, and sometimes the bucket people, if they're down the lines, won't have nets in front of them, which I don't know if that's the answer either. But
yeah, well, you just got to be behind. You got to be out of the angle of the turtle. So like if the hitter is where I'm at, you got to be over there. But still, you can get the ones that run and over and get you. But
jeez,
I always liked better when we had it on the lines, because you didn't get as many. You didn't have to go and run them in as often. At least it didn't feel like. Or when you did, you didn't have
true.
The worst is when you're on bucket and they have the caddy that has a bunch of baseballs in it, more than what can fit in the bucket that you have. So they keep throwing, and you have this big bucket that's just overflowing, and you run it in from center field and you're dropping them everywhere.
It looks like you're just running into the forest, like you're a backpacking tourist climbing Mount Everest and just holding it over your shoulder.
Yeah, they're waiting on you to keep hitting, to run the balls in. You have all these baseballs.
People yell like, "Figure it out, let's go!"
Yeah, it's like
what do you want me to do?
So you spent like 15 minutes out there. You about died like 3 times. The screen fell on you, and they're yelling at you while you're trying to carry 60 pounds from center field to the pitcher's mound.
Oh no! Well, and it's like it's too bad too, because this is a position that it's probably the most like unrecognized job that, I mean, everybody takes it for granted because the balls run in and everybody's like, yeah, the BP throw was great today, or my swings felt good, or the outfielders are getting good reads. Like, nobody finishes BP talking about how great the bucket guy did, but like that's such an important job. I mean, it really is.
Well, the spectrum of jobs for BP goes from really, really awesome to just really bad, and like nothing in between. Because you could either be the guy at first base who's catching the infielders' reads on ground balls, and that's fun because you just sit there and you just play first base all BP.
Yeah, you just catch it and then you put it into the bucket. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the other guy comes and gets it, takes it in. But
I think go ahead.
Or you could be the guy that just stands on the warning track and is just chatting it up and trying to rob home runs. That's fun. And that's all the way on this side. And then the other end of the spectrum is bucket guy, which is way over here. It sucks. There's no in between.
I always felt so bad too, like the hierarchy of like college freshmen are usually appointed as the bucket people. But like, I mean, how cool is it too? Like, I thought it was always an endearing thing when you see, so if you're tuning into this and you happen to be at the top, if you're like a frequent player, like go help the dude at the bucket. Cause like that uplifts. I mean, there's nothing cooler if you're a freshman and then you walk over and you just see like an absolute dog of a prospect. It's like, hey man, let me help you out today. Like that's cool. I wish more people did that. Nobody does. I mean, I haven't seen it a single time. Let's be real. But like,
the best is when you get a bucket partner. Like you go up and you do the bucket, and then somebody like wants to do the bucket for some reason, so they come up and do the bucket with you, and then you like are able to chat. Because if you're doing the bucket by yourself, you're not chatting with anybody because everybody's way over there. If somebody comes and does bucket with you, it's better. So in college, it's usually the freshmen, but in minor league baseball, we didn't. You don't have any freshmen, so
you rotated around.
So we'd rotate. So whenever the bucket needed to be returned to the BP thrower, we would switch. So somebody else in the outfield would come do bucket. So we'd drop the bucket off, we'd dump it in the thing, and then the guy who was usually done with the bucket would just run by the screen and throw the bucket up in the air. Just like, somebody next, and just run off. But we started doing it where we would always go with 2 people doing the bucket. So it wasn't as boring. So we'd have 2 people do it, and then they'd rotate out, and other 2 people would go, which made it a lot easier.
Yeah, and then you at least have somebody to talk to, and you feel like a human rather than just sitting there sticking it out. I know that there was a team that I was on before that the bucket person every single game was the starting pitcher from the previous day. which I thought, I mean, that's an easy way to decide. Just, yeah, you get off your feet. You can even sit on the bucket if you want to. But like, it was always funny reading their body language because there might have been a starter that just had an absolute great outing, just carved, like 7 shutouts or something. And then they're like ecstatic and they're like picking it up, pointing at everybody nice. And then somebody that just like got shelled and maybe didn't make it out of the second inning is just like pissed off because they can't avoid. It's their job. It's the duty. But like, I always enjoyed like the nuance that went into it. And I think that, I mean, the other nuance that exists, I know that we kind of started this episode talking about the different positions that exist. The radar gun behind home plate. How often would you, I mean, you're speaking in your professional career, how often or how frequent would you do that?
In college, we did it, we alternated between the 3 starters that were on the weekends and then whoever started on the weekday. We'd alternate. That wasn't a bad job either, except for when it was cold and windy, because usually you were in the wind and everybody else was out of the wind. But I liked pitch chart the best just because you're most involved, like you said. Yeah. But in professional baseball, I only did that for the first year. Like, we only had a radar guy and a pitch chart guy in the stands for 2019, and then after that, they did away with it, and just everything was TrackMan.
It was TrackMan, yeah.
I think they realized, like, why do we need this again? The TrackMan doesn't go down
anymore.
Like, I mean, it does. Yeah, it never really went down. But I had
that's interesting.
But I remember doing the chart, and a lot of times it would be like blowout games, and we'd have position players come in and pitch in the minor leagues.
Oh dear!
And I remember texting the pitching coach in the Zergon, being like, "Hey, do I have to chart all this?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, just do it. Just do it." So I'd be charting all these position players, like first pitch strikes and 1-1 strikes and all sorts of stuff. For position guys.
Running back in. Oh, and they're like all fired up too. They're like, "Dude, how'd it go?" It was like, "Yeah, this is you. Yeah, you're on the mound. This is what it is." That's interesting though. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it makes sense why there's not much of a functional need to put them in the stands anymore. I mean, I always enjoyed it from a perspective standpoint of you're so caught up in your own game of like, if you're in the dugout, you hear, especially in college, you hear it might be a little bit wild in the dugout. People are getting into it and cheering people on. And then the new perspective that comes out of actually being able to sit in the stands and watch the exact same game with the same players, but on a different level of just your own perception. So I thought that always was a cool little just kind of reality reminder of this is multiple forms, and it helps kind of keep you grounded in new, I guess, viewpoints, if you want to say that. And then now that that's kind of going away, I always thought it was interesting when, you're kind of on an island, and there's not a whole lot to say in those. But I mean, the cool other sides of it, if you're in the pitch chart duties, I've seen some people do pitch charts in the dugout. Some people will do it outside right behind home plate. And I guess that's another nuance too, is like as you progress and you play further, you go from the little league and the high school ball of you have to go out and get foul balls and you got to chart everything and you got to just be very barbaric as if it's the 1930s. And then you get into professional baseball and, well, the TrackMan collects all the data. You don't need to get the foul balls because the fans are taking them home. And
I think
that's
the job that we ever had to worry about was bucket. That was it.
Yeah.
Bucket and being out there to shag BP. But we also did a thing where we would alternate shagging. So we've cut the pitching staff in half, and then every other day you would go out and shag.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually awesome.
So you weren't shagging every day. There was only like 8-9 pitchers out there.
That's sweet.
But then it got to the point where everybody started shagging because some guys would skip out on their shift. So that it was like, we'd go out there, there'd be like 3 pitchers out there, like 2 pitchers, 1 on the bucket, 1 in the outfield. And the hitting coach and manager would just be like, "What is this?" And then we got screwed out of our thing because we couldn't handle it.
Everybody's like, "Oh, I thought my day was tomorrow." It's like, "Oh, sure. Yeah, right
sure you did."
Oh, geez. That's just a disaster. That's funny, too, because, I mean, you never know what you're going to run into. And, I mean, it's able to keep it loose and it's able to keep it fun. That's actually, I mean, in theory, that's an awesome system, too, of like, yeah, we're going to keep you guys off your feet. Not a big deal. Like, if you're a reliever and you're just standing there, which, I mean, chances are you probably are. That's just instinctively the way that it goes. But here it is. You put all these provisions in place to make sure that people are being taken care of. And then all of a sudden, just when you think everything's running smooth, you got 1 dude standing on the entire right side of the field. And everybody's like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's another good layer of this as far as I've always wondered, what are the rites of passages when you know that you're playing like big time baseball? And I always summed it down to, if somebody else washes your uniform, if you have reserved seating tickets being sold at your game, or if you don't have to go get your own foul balls and people are able to take them home. Like, those are the three that I've kind of summed up. If you can say that you've checked off one or more of those three, that's kind of the measuring stick. And I think a lot of this goes hand in hand with the jobs that you might otherwise have to fulfill if you haven't reached it to that level yet.
One of the sneakily the funniest jobs that don't happen in the higher levels is the home run job for BP. Because if you can't see the field, and if there's enough home runs, you just stand out beyond the fence. So like if you're in a stadium, you're like, we'll be shagging VP and I'll look up and there's a freshman like in the concourse just standing there. Just waiting for home run balls. But if you're in a stadium where you can't see over the like through the fence and there's no seating out there, the freshman's just standing behind the fence like this. Just hoping just to not get hit. Style. Just standing behind the fence, staring at the sky. Has no clue what's going on at all.
I mean, it's a glorifying setting, and I mean, it's funny too when you see all of the design implements that go into this. And I think this kind of goes, as you mentioned, if you can't see that for the sight lines, but like something else that we didn't even touch on is sometimes that lower level teams, they have to double as their own grounds crew. Might see players dragging the field or something like this. And I think that when you start to see, I don't want to call it cutting corners, but when you don't have full traditional staffing that you might see at a high level. I know my high school, we didn't have dirt on the baselines. So like from home to first, it was grass. So the only dirt that we had, I mean, we had it was a traditional infield of all dirt, but the baselines were grass. And that was just so we didn't have to rake them. And I mean, yeah, fundamentally it makes sense. It is what it is. But when you start realizing like the clever developments that go into dismissing responsibilities, like turf mounds, I mean, that's a responsibility that goes away if you do something like that. But I think that all the more reason to just preach that, these are some very unsung jobs that deserve a lot of celebration. If people are actually putting in the time, you're going to have to be able to do some positions that maybe you don't necessarily want to do. You might be on a road trip and somebody's going to have to carry the bus, or somebody's going to have to carry baseballs off the bus. Somebody might have to bus. I don't know. Maybe it will be.
Sometimes you never know.
Somebody might have to drive the
bus. I was always surprised when because we never had to do our mound, minor league baseball, never had to do our mound. And we didn't have to do it at Creighton either because they had a grounds crew at TD. And then when we were on the practice field, it was turf. But you learned how to do a mound if you went to JUCO. Like, you learned how to do the mound the right way. So I remember for some reason in Everett, we needed to do the mound because he wasn't there to do the mound. And we needed to do the bullpen mound.
Oh, man. So they take an inventory saying who went to JUCO and you raise your hand. And,
pretty much, man. Yeah. Well, like me and two other guys who went to JUCO, we all tackled that. They were like, no, we got it. Well, everybody starts messing with it, and we're like, just get out of here. We'll do it. We know how to do it good. Like, we've done it for double headers on Saturday and Sunday and the weekday. Our job was the mound for like 3 years. So we got it. And some guy who went to friggin', I don't know, some Power 5 or something. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, makes sense. You never had to do the mound.
I mean, yeah, that's a skilled job too. I mean, people make a good living being able to take care of those duties. That's interesting. You also had that too, as far as taking care of mounds. I know that when I was in high school, we had our own field prep duties. I was the mound guy for my high school. And then when I went to junior college, I was the mound guy there. I remember my high school pitching coach, speaking of the hierarchy of lower levels of baseball versus higher level, resource wise, you have a lot more of a budget the higher you play. I remember in an effort to preserve the clay, when you pitch on a natural mound, there's going to be holes that dig in. And you can see this in a big league game in later innings of, gradually they're going to get carved out a little bit. That's just naturally speaking, that's the clay that's kind of chipping away from the metal spikes. So we would have to fill the holes. The strategy was in high school, we would spray the mound and then we would get like a mixture of the dirt. So we would get we'd circle the mound, we'd get the excess dirt. And then we'd spray the mound down, and we would just keep kind of raking that dirt back and forth until it was like a moldable consistency that we could tamp it down. And we were tamping reused dirt into the holes in order to patch them, which, I mean, from a budget standpoint, yeah, that makes absolute sense. But you get to the second inning of the next game, and all of this dirt, maybe it's a little bit hardened, but it's not going to last. So I remember I got to junior college, and I just thought that's what everybody did. Like, I had no clue that there was anything different. So I'm doing this, and my JUCO head coach is just like, Wick, are you comfortable doing the mound? Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm like fired up because I'm going, that means maybe if you're on mound duty, they think that you're, I mean, suggestively speaking, if you are appointed to take care of the mound, it's a little bit more of a skilled position than if you're picking weeds, if you're on weed control duty in the bullpen. Like that was one that we had. So, you know what? I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at like the field maintenance chart, and I'm like, I'm on game mound, dude, that's awesome. And so then I'm sitting here. So I'm starting off, and I'm like, the expectation is like, dude, maybe this means that like I'm in really good standing with the team. This is awesome. So I start doing it high school style of raking the dirt just like I was taught, but it's because we couldn't, like, we were going to buy all that clay. So then the head coach walks by, he's like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm just, I like, in my mind, I'm just like, I know
your
that
face right now.
Like, I don't remember. And at this time, I was 18 years old. I was in my first month of JUCO. It was 104 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm away from home for the first time ever. Good Lord. Can we not cut this? Can I just tell everybody why these lights are fading? Because if you're making it this far into the episode, all right, now they're not turning on. Stand up.
Anyways.
All right, these lights auto shift off. You know what? We're keeping it running. We'll trim it out. Yeah, so anyways, I'm like away from home for the first time. This is what it is. And I remember I didn't know what to tell to my coach just because, one, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, but I knew I was doing something wrong. But at the same time, you're like, want to make such a good impression, but like I froze, and I'm just like, how do you want me to do it? And I remember I don't know, in that situation like that, you're so frozen and you just feel extremely uncomfortable. But anyways, that was when I learned, clear out the holes, get a bag of clay, put it in here. And then I was like, how much does the clay cost? And he's like, we don't talk about that part. And I'm like, all right, I get it now. So
the mound,
I learned the hard way.
So if anybody's unfamiliar, they want to know, just a basic rundown of the steps. Step 1, brush with like a broom all the excess dirt off of the clay underneath, and you'll see
clear
the holes.
Yeah.
Then get it wet. Get the part where the holes are wet. Then take like the edge of a rake or something and score it. So put little grooves in it.
Yeah, some people skip that spot. That's a good one to note.
Yeah, it holds it in there. It doesn't pop out.
Yeah.
Then put the new clay on top. Then you tamp it down to make it flat. Then you brush the dirt or the turfus or whatever it is back over the top of it. Then you tarp it. Our JUCO, we had it's right next to a river. So when we would do this with the batter's boxes where the catcher is, sometimes by like second base or first base, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the mound as well. So you use a lot of clay. Well, right by our JUCO field, there was a river, and there's a big riverbank, and it was all clay.
So you guys would take the river clay?
So we would have somebody who worked on the mound would take a wheelbarrow and a shovel down to the river. So he'd walk with a wheelbarrow and a shovel all the way down to the river, and then chop out a bunch of clay into the wheel-barrow.
This is the most JUCO thing I have ever heard.
So our whole infield, where the home plate area, the mound, and around all the bases were all the river clay.
Oh,
because we would take a wheelbarrow down there, and a lot of times that was my job. I was like, I'll go get the clay, and then just dig it in the riverbank with a shovel and put it in the wheelbarrow, and then drive it back.
That is so pure. Honestly, I mean that's cool. Like, I mean, that's some grittiness that, I mean, taking pride in your work too, of like, yeah, we got the clay ourselves. Like, yeah, this is what we do. Like, that's even cooler.
Somebody's like, we don't know how to fix a mound. I'm like, Dude, I don't even need the bags. Just let me know where a river is.
Dude, let me know where a river is.
I'll find the clay. We'll have clay. I'll go find it.
You're just walking out of the stadium with a wheelbarrow. You're just like, yeah, this is how it's done. This is what we do. Oh, man. This is good to note. I mean, speaking of taking care of that on like the grassroots level and then taking care of mounds, I know that we played, when you and I were at Creighton, we played our home stadium was the ballpark that houses the College World Series. And I remember I worked the Big Ten baseball tournament on the grounds crew for a week. And in order to take care of that mound there, and I was shocked because, again, I'm coming from the grassroots JUCO that, the same principles apply. But before the tournament started, they would take the bags of clay and they would run them into a machine that made them finer. Like they broke up the clay, like literally into like almost a powdery clay. So it's as moldable as ready to go.
You have to break it up.
Yeah. Like that. And I mean, they had a machine that did it. So like I'm looking at this going, this is the most it looked like granulated sand, like heavy sand that you would find at a beach, but it's clay. And they put it into buckets and then they loaded it behind one of the dugouts and it was just ready to go for the batter's boxes and for the pitcher's mound. So after every game, they would go out there, clear the holes, just like you mentioned, same type of protocol. They would take all of the dirt, they would clear the mound. So again, when you clear the holes, there's always going to be, some excess dirt. But the dirt will often clump together, and that's in large part a product of when the clay chips off from the holes during gameplay. Sometimes you'll get clumps of dirt. Well, they would rake all of those dirt clumps up, and then they would end up like taking out like an entire bag worth of dirt clay mixture that was just used in those clumps. And every single game, like I kid you not, every single game they would put a brand new bag of dirt over the clay onto the pitcher's mound. So that was my job was, if you're playing a doubleheader, let's take care of the mound. All right, we're going to load this up. Cool. We'll take all the old dirt out. And then I'm taking a brand new bag, pouring it on, raking the mound, putting the logo on the back of the mound, play ball. Absolutely That's incredible. Cool. And then that was some cool stuff.
What people don't know too is when they do like higher level mounds like that, there's a certain part in front of the rubber where the mound is flat. Then it goes down. So like a lot of times that gets cut off. Like if this is where it breaks and it's like rubber here, flat clay here, break there. If it's cut out there, you have to make sure that you make it flat up until whatever amount of inches that is. I don't know. And then slopes down.
Yeah. And then it's like 1 foot per inch on the decline all the way until the front of the mound. And that's funny too. I mean, that's interesting. You note that, especially at some of the lower levels of how big that table is in front of the mound. And I mean, it looks pretty good if you're pitching on like an artificial mound because it's designed for those exact specifics. But sometimes I remember I was pitching at another JUCO and it felt like it was rounded from the top of the mound down. Like I was standing on this hill and I was just like, this is really weird. It looks like a balloon that I'm standing on right now, but that's part of the joy of it.
That's kind of like I hate the most when it's when you come off the rubber and the clay is higher than the rubber.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I'll
doing it to mitigate the holes.
I'll make sure I want like a lip like that high in front of the rubber. I don't want to be like next to it on top where I don't have any push. I'll clear all of it out. It'll just be the mound rooster. I'll just dig a hole.
That's a good move. I think another note on this too, I mean, outside of the clay being elevated, I think another like aesthetic thing to give a shout out to is whoever's on the batter's boxes at lower levels. I remember a game in JUCO. I was pitching at Eastern Arizona College, and the batter's boxes, they did it and they were crooked. And I remember standing on the mound and I was like, is this mound centered? Like I felt like I was off center by like 4 or 5 feet just because of how they did the batter's boxes. And I remember I'm like 2 pitches into my warm-ups in the top of the first, and I'm just like, I need to clear this out of my head because it's fine. It is what it is. But, that's part of the joy. As long as you're taking the job seriously, and I mean, it can range from being the bucket guy. It can range from painting the batter's boxes. It can range from standing up against a wood fence, not knowing when the next home run's going to come.
Shout out to that veteran coach that can do the batter's boxes without the stencil.
That's also true. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're just rolling, and you're holding like the old school, like what is the chalk machine, like with the 2 wheels too. If you go vintage,
you gotta go reverse. He doesn't get enough chalk, so you back up and then shake it up and go. And he's just doing immaculate batter's boxes.
I mean, that's pretty pure. I mean, it's always good. I think a big emphasis on why we wanted to talk about this is to show some love for all facets of the game. And, taking pride in your work, I understand it's a whole lot easier to take pride in your own personal player development. But, part of the joy about being at the ballpark and celebrating the game is taking pride in all the different elements that you do might potentially take on. And those things, I think they most definitely do trickle into the way that you play the game. Because if you can be passionate and enthusiastic being the bucket guy, you're probably going to be a very passionate, enthusiastic baseball player. So hopefully, I mean, that seems like kind of a childish way to encourage people to be fired up to do that. But I think that kind of carries some weight, I guess.
It does.
What really carries weight is dragging the wheelbarrow of clay from the river. You've never told me that. I don't know how I haven't figured that story out yet, by the way.
Yeah, we use river clay.
Was it good clay? Like, was it like comparable to like clay that you've seen otherwise?
One of my favorite mounds. It's because I did it all the time, and I use the river clay.
That's true. You get exact specifics. I mean, hey, if they're good enough to take the rubbing mud for all big league baseballs out of a river, I mean, that's where the clay's going to start anyways. So it is what it is.
Where else are you going to get it?
Oh my goodness. My friends, this has been an absolute blast. We got to create a list or something. We'll put a nice little graphic together for the people talking about all the things that you never really know that you're going to run into. But one thing we do know that we are going to run into is a short break here on episode 19. We're going to be picking this thing up right where we left off. Don't go anywhere. You are watching The Night Pitch. Power Minute, Justin Wick. Here to talk about Leverage Index. Invented by Tom Tango, shout out to the GOAT. Leverage Index tells you how important a situation in a baseball game is, and it's based on how much win probability can change during any given plate appearance. This is where the term high leverage situation comes from. Big situations have high leverage. Leverage Index is generated by the number of outs, runners on, score, and inning, and an average or neutral situation has a value of 1. Any situation greater than 1 has higher than average leverage, while anything below is less valued. Generating these numbers is a different animal. Fortunately, they are already generated for us. You can find these numbers on the classic tables, or you can find them on win probability charts, just like the ones that Fangraphs puts out for every MLB game. If you're curious who was up in the most clutch moments, take a look at the tallest leverage index bars, and it will tell you everything that you need to know. If you want to sell a lot of jerseys, or get free dinner, or have your own statue, or something cool like that, make sure you play really well when the leverage index is high. Welcome back to The Night Pitch. Evan and I, we did an immaculate grid on a prior episode, which we had a blast, and we want to promote the things in the baseball culture that people have a lot of fun playing. And what better forum to put this together than just an open forum where we can discuss what these platforms are, what they do, why they're a lot of fun, why people enjoy putting these things together. So we are here. We debated about doing another immaculate grid, but the emphasis for what we are going to play today is in an effort to grow even bigger horizons, even show some more platforms that are getting put together. So we are here to play a site called MLB Pickle. This is it's like Wordle, but for baseball. I think that's kind of an accurate way of it. Do you play Wordle? Evan, are you a Wordle guy?
No.
You're not.
I don't see us doing very good at Pickle, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good. So here, we'll clarify the rules. So there's multiple columns. There's 7 total columns, and there's one for the team, the division, if they bat or throw left or right-handed, when they were born, where they were born, what their age is, and what their position is. So you'll get like a nationality, you'll get a whole lot of different things, but ultimately when you type in a name, and that's just probably easiest to demonstrate after we pick our first player. Who do you want to pick?
Well, it is one of my homies' birthday today. His name is Steven Kolek.
There you go.
He's a rookie.
Well, absolutely. We got to do Kolek.
He's a rookie with the San Diego Padres, so
friend of the show.
We're going to go ahead and pick Steven Kolek. Just see what it gives.
That's a respectable
Wick can explain how this works.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so Steven Kolek. We have orange that indicates that the player plays in either the league or the division shown. So this means that they're either in the National League or in the American League West. So we can rule out AL East, AL Central. It is a right-handed thrower and a right-handed hitter because those both show up in green. And then the age, also, I believe the age being in yellow means that it's within 2 years of the player's actual age. So orange kind of means that you're close, but you're not exactly there. Green means that you got it. And then if it doesn't have any color, that means it's incorrect and you got to find a new one. So you have multiple entries all the way down the column. Let me count how many we actually have. You have 9. Classic baseball number. There you go. So the goal is over the next 9 to put together how concise, how clear can you really make this work? And you got to use the context clues based on what the orange and the black highlights give you. So ultimately you want to result in a full green listing. I don't know if I have ever got this correct out of like 4 times, by the way.
I don't think of it because it's just so hard. So you have to know every player on every team.
This is a challenge.
Yeah. I will say that Golik's here is wrong. He's not a starting pitcher. He's a bullpen guy.
They're giving him some love. Oh my goodness.
And also the 27, the yellow around 27 means that's within 2 years. The player that we're looking for is within 2 years of that. I think it's, either way. Well, that would make sense.
25 to 29 is a tough little. I mean, that doesn't really tell us a whole lot of anything, I guess. All right, so we know that Charlie Blackmon is not on the board, so we could skip over him. And then we know that Jackson Holliday is not on the board because it wouldn't fit the age and it wouldn't fit the divisions. So, all right, I think the way to do this is figuring out somebody that's... We said the AL East and the AL Central are ruled out. I'm thinking an American League West player would probably be the way to go. I think that, like, how old is Julio Rodriguez?
25? Maybe?
Some younger edge, because he would...
I don't know how old he was.
Cross off.
I never asked him.
Was he a cool dude?
He's very cool dude. That guy is one of the best.
I'm sorry, I put you in a...
No, I'm serious.
I put you in a tough position, but that sounds pretty genuine.
If he wasn't, I would let you know.
All right, that's good.
But he's one of the best personalities in all of baseball, I think.
Well, let's say Julio. Let's just go with him.
Julio Rodriguez.
All right, we did get AL West. Dominican in the AL West.
Okay. That's a good... So far, we haven't nailed down a position.
Wow.
And Julio's 23.
That's a pretty good... That's a pretty good guess right there. All right, so American League West, and we know that it isn't the Mariners. So this leaves the Rangers, the Astros, the Angels. Goodness, I'm drawing a blank. I can name every big league team in alphabetical order, and now I'm having a hard time coming. And the A's. There we go. Goodness. All right, so it's a Dominican Republic player. Jordan Alvarez might not be a bad one here.
Why do I want to think? Where does Abraham Toro play for the A's?
I have no idea.
Is he a Dominican guy?
You want to put him down? You want to just use the guess here? I mean, it'll tell us if he plays for the A's or not, and that'll get us down to 3 teams.
Okay.
Abraham Toro.
What was you?
It will show us the presets. Oh, he's Canadian. Okay. He's Canadian? Really?
Oh, okay. So we can
switch
see.
Hitter.
We can see.
Yeah, so this is a good thing to put in. Yeah, we can actually put together if we have an idea. So I'll say... Well, this is good because I can now type in potential suggestions.
Well, hold on, don't go too fast because you're going faster than what our viewers can see here on the placard.
I'm just proofreading my own guesses, so I just don't sound clueless. Yeah, I'm coming up with the ones that I might suggest. This is cool because I have like a built-in filter that I can test. It's like I'm looking at the dictionary and a spelling bee.
What's the one that you suggested?
I said Jordan Alvarez, but he's actually Cuban. And he's a left-handed hitter.
Oh, we need a right-handed hitter. It's not a pitcher. Unless it's some reliever.
Who is like an obscure reliever? This is what I was afraid of, because our commentary is just going to get so limited. This is a good thing that we tied everybody together with the first half of the episode, where we had a whole lot of interactive content that was coming together. See, this is why we played Immaculate Grid before we played MLB Pickle, is because we wanted to really put together the conversation starter. This is a tough one. This is a tough game.
Pickle is probably the hardest game, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to do very good. But just wait till we guess one on like the fifth guess that's all green.
Yeah.
All right, pick a team. Right, pick a Dominican player for a team in the AL West. That's not Seattle.
Is Emmanuel Class A with with the Astros now? No, I don't know why I thought that. He is Dominican though.
He's in Cleveland.
Yeah, I knew he was with. I don't know why I was just thinking he got. I knew he was with Cleveland. I was just having a moment right there. Who's the? You know, this is interesting because now I think back on.
How about we go with Jose Leclerc?
Yeah, that's that. There you go. I'm good with that.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a relief pitcher either. Good not with Texas. So we got two teams off the board now. We got Seattle and Texas off the board. So what about like...
All right, so we have Oakland, LA Angels, or Houston Astros.
Well, we need a player for Houston.
Is Jeremy Pena? Jeremy Pena is an infielder. World Series MVP, Jeremy Pena. So he does play for Houston. He's 26, so that would check the Kolick box within 2 years.
Let's try it.
And then, all right, Jeremy Pena.
Oh!
Are we serious?
That's it. We did it.
Wow. We actually got it? Oh, I thought I was clueless. Oh, my goodness. Well, now what are we going to do?
Well, let's do a grid, I guess.
All right, well, oh, dear. All right, well, we did it. All right, cool. Right on. Well, I feel like this game absolutely minimal context. Like the viewership capabilities. I do not know if we're going to win an Emmy based on this effort today, but hey, that's pretty pure. Wow. I'm actually disappointed that we got it now.
I know. I was watching it turn over, and I was like, no way. No way. No way. What did I say?
Oh,
I said, watch us get it on like the fifth one or the fourth one.
We got it on the fourth.
I'm saying like, we're probably not going to get this at all.
Oh no!
Nope.
Well done, well done, friends. Well, this is kind of unforeseen. All right. Well, you know, this was kind of the fear, and I know this is something that we talked about of the different things that we could put together. How cool would it be? I know I prefaced talking about the Immaculate Grid is a lot more of an interactive type of forum. But MLB Pickle is just a whole lot of, it's active players only. So this means that you have to be really like in tune with players in the modern game, which, you know, it's interesting to see like the cycles of I can go from following modern active players extremely well to then maybe sometimes you're getting tied up with your own job or your own career or your own playing. That some people may be really good at MLB Pickle and then 2 years go by and they don't necessarily know modern players as well.
That was me sitting there thinking, what about Elvis?
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, what about Elvis
I'm
Andrews?
Fernando Rodney. Yeah, that was where I was.
That's not current.
Wow. Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the fun of it, too. And I mean, it's a good way to educate yourself on modern players, too. Like, I've always heard that some of the better ways to do it are either play MLB The Show, watch a ton of games, or play MLB Pickle. Because then you at least know the names a little bit. But
let's do another grid before we get out of here.
Let's do another grid. All right, here we go. Yeah, and we can expedite it, too, because we've got the timing. You've already got it ready? I thought we were going to have to pause. Wow.
Yeah, dude. I got it ready to rock and roll, family.
Well done. Well done. All righty.
It stays ready, dude.
Grief. All right, so you grew up a Cardinal fan, so that's a good sign.
Yep.
All right, let me look in and see what we got. Gold Gloves in a 100-run season. All right. Well, I think the easy low-hanging fruit right now is Derek Jeter, Gold Glove Yankee. Mike Piazza would be a Gold Glove Met. Stan Musial would be a Gold Glove Cardinal. I don't think we want to say any of those because those are all the low-hanging fruits.
Do they have to win the Gold Glove with that team?
I believe so, yes.
I want to go with for the Cardinals, one that I think would definitely get it, but not a lot of people would say would be like a Jim Edmonds.
I was going to say like a David Eckstein or a Jim
David
Edmonds.
Eckstein.
Yeah. Let's go Edmonds. We'll trust your upbringing right there.
Watch. Jim Edmonds somehow never won a Gold Glove.
Are we going to blanket on guess number one?
Well, it's somehow, I mean, he's one of the best defensive outfielders ever. Just some guy named Jim Edmonds.
I trust it. Let's roll the dice. Look at us.
9%.
Look at you.
9%.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty considerable number.
What about
what are some of the ones that we might get stuck on that we might just need?
100-run season? It'd be tough to get like a
100-run season.
Low percentage, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like those are pretty niche. And I mean, you could go Jose Reyes for the Mets.
You want to do that one?
That's kind of safe. Yeah, let's just. That's about as certain as I think. And I don't know if we're gonna find one. 100-run seasons are. You got to be a pretty. I can't imagine there are a lot of options here.
Jose Reyes, 2006.
What's the other one?
2003, 2018.
Yeah, the one with the most years. There's multiple Jose Reyes selections. Wow.
There you go. 22%.
Yeah, I figure that's one that we probably will get stuck a little.
Whenever we do this, I think I put an emphasis on trying to get them all versus getting a good score. I mean, you want to get a good score, but like you don't want to go so low that it's like an auto blank.
Yeah, well, and I mean, at a certain point too, like part of the fulfillment in this is like, I mean, I feel pretty good about powering through one. Like, I'll be like, let's see how quick I can do this as opposed to how low percentage wise I can do this. That's another thing that I've kind of started doing. It's kind of humiliating when I then can't get any of them and then I go close out of it and I go back in and 2 hours later and then I can't figure them out again. And then it's just an endless throughout the day.
What about for a sneaky Yankee, this might not be that sneaky, but like a Jorge Posada for a Gold Glove?
Yeah, I think that I'm sure he had to have had multiple. I'm sure
he was like their guy for the meat.
Let's go Jorge Posada.
Good. Okay. I swear. Do you have faith in me?
Are you having second thoughts right now?
Do you have faith in me?
Well, part of me is kind of like, do we want to have some more sure things before I just push it? Here we go.
How? How did he never win a Gold Glove with the Yankees? He was like their dude.
Really? Who was are you? I mean, Yadier was in the other division too, so it wasn't like he was taking it from him or the other league. Who was the NL catcher, or the AL catcher in the bulk of the early 2000s?
That took the Gold Glove.
Well, we don't need to worry about being perfect anymore.
That's bunch crap.
I guess for the joy of this,
that's actually what that is. Jorge Posada never won a Gold Glove with the Yankees.
All right, well, Jeter won one. I mean, people accuse Jeter of not being as good of a fielder as he maybe was touted as, which I also kind of dispute too. That guy was a stud. That's another thing that I hate. Well, he was good, but was he Hall of Fame good? Like, was his defensive skills up to, like, he had. I hate that. Was he good, but was he Hall of Fame good? Was he good, but was he Gold Glove good? Like, could you imagine being the second best third baseman in the National League behind Nolan Arenado? Like, you'd never get the award.
How many teams wanted Derek Jeter? Every single team.
Yeah,
okay, he should probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Jeez. Well, we could just put Jeter for a Gold Glove. Like, who is Ichiro? But did Ichiro win one? Well, if he did, he would be a high percentage.
I feel like not with the Yankees, though.
Yeah, I knew it would have been with the Mariners. Are we just gonna cave?
I swear.
I'm fine if we do. Yeah, I'm fine if we do.
I mean, we already took
All
an
right.
L on one square, so we got to get 8
I
or
know,
9
yeah.
now.
So I feel like we don't. Yeah, we don't need to. As long as we're above average now, we should be okay.
At least we have one box we don't have to fill out.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, this is cool. Now that we can actually be a little selective here. All right, 100 run wins. Cut that part out too. All right. 100 runs for the Yankees. I feel pretty good about
wins for the Yankees.
I'm trying to think of all right, Jeter would be on there. I'm sure a Don Mattingly would be on there. Is that obscure? I don't know if he would or wouldn't.
That'd be a cool.
Thurman Munson, Reggie Jackson. Was he high enough in the order to get driven in that much? I bet Judge would be on there just because if he's hitting 65 home runs in there, he's got to find another way. Roger Maris.
I think Roger Maris would have a low percentage. He had to have had 100 runs.
I'm sure. With the amount of Yankees, let's do that. Let's go Roger Maris. I can hear Bob Shepard's voice saying it right now too. I wish that they put broadcasters in here.
2%.
Like Red Sox. Oh, there you go. That's a good pick right there.
Wow.
Could you imagine if we had broadcaster grids of Red Sox and Padres and we get to put Don Orsillo in there?
Broadcaster grids.
Jeez. All right. Cardinals runs.
Just put Joe Buck for every square.
Yeah, there you go. Tim McCarver, John Smoltz, Bob Costas. Runs for the Cardinals would I just thought of one that was going to be a good one. Skip Schumacher. He was fast.
What about Matt Carpenter?
Did he get up there? He had to have got up there.
Because he had a good season with them, and he hit leadoff. So that tells me that if he wasn't, because he was hitting bombs too when he was in leadoff. So if he wasn't hitting a home run,
that's good.
He was at least on base with the power part of the lineup coming up.
Yeah, I think that's. I like it.
Matt Holliday.
Would he get 100? Yeah, he could have.
Played a while there.
Yeah, I like it. Let's go with Matt Carpenter. I think that sounds good. If you're cool with it. I mean, unless you can think of one that might be lower. You want to go Holiday? He was an all-star there.
Scott Rowland.
Also, that might be a Scott Rowland. Is it messed up that the Matt Holliday percentage might be skewed because his son just made his debut this week? It might be fresh in people's minds, so maybe we should avoid that one.
Yeah. What about Scott Rowland? I feel like he might go under the radar.
Yeah, I think he was high enough in the order. I think that sounds good. John Jay.
Ooh. But he didn't. I feel like he didn't produce like all those other guys did. But I could have just been really little when Scott Rowland was there.
Yeah, Rowland's going to give you a bigger sample. So I think we get a better margin of error for that one. So I think that's pretty safe.
But Edgar Renteria. Or when they were playing Whitey Ball. Whitey Herzog. Got his autograph too.
Look at you. Wow. Who's a one-off that just spent
Did you know
one
Whitey Herzog
there?
just died?
I did. I did hear about that.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Vince Coleman.
Dude, you are digging into the archives. Your Cardinal knowledge is my Rockies knowledge. So you're going to be saying half of these people. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I have no clue.
Jack Clark. He was the only home run guy for the Cardinals in the 80s.
Did you pick this because there is a Cardinal?
Maybe. I picked it because it was the only one without WAR.
All right, that's respectable. That's pretty good.
I
think Scott Rowland's safe.
WAR season. Oh, okay, yeah, because I look at that all the time.
Well, and the thing that kills me too is it Baseball Reference WAR or is it Fangraphs WAR? It's actually Baseball Reference WAR because Baseball Reference sponsors this. What if? All right, wow. All right, we're gonna move on from that one. Cool.
I want you to pick one off my hand right here: Scott Rowland, Vince Coleman, Jack Clark, Ozzie Smith, Edgar Renteria.
Vince Coleman. I hope. Well, if it's not right, we can just. I mean, we're already down 1, so it's not like we need to be perfect. Good for you. Well done. Well done. Hey, quality stuff right there. Never a doubt. Maybe a small one, but
I had a lot of. I was like, he played in the 80s. I mean, all he did was just run around. That guy stole so many bases. Are you kidding me? There's no way he didn't cross the plate 100 times. There's no way. No chance.
Oh my goodness. I respect it, man. I think we're in a good standing right here. I think for the Mets Gold Glove, I know Reyes would have had one. Mike Piazza's a classic low-hanging fruit selection. I'm trying to think of a modern player.
What about think about the when the Mets were they had like Darryl Strawberry, all those guys. Anybody win a Gold Glove with that team or no?
Like the 86 Mets. Who's a pitcher?
For the Mets that would have won it?
Yeah. I don't want to start looking up stuff because that's cheating.
Well, we have to leave one space open.
I think DeGrom actually won one.
Seriously?
But that would have been when he wasn't with the Mets, though.
Yeah. Why don't we leave this one to come back? Because we have that option.
Yeah, that's
maybe
good.
We'll think of another one.
Well, my fear is that the concerning part about doing an immaculate grid is here we're trying to portray ourselves as very reputable minds in the baseball world. And I feel like this is very much just exposing. I mean, I'll put it this way. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. This is some of the most useless information that you're going to... This does not elevate your life in any capacity at all. Like, I really don't want to say it, but all right, cool. I can get a 0.2% on all 9 of them. Like, that's not going to help solve world problems. That's not going to, like...
Well, hey, doing bucket isn't going to solve world problems either. All right? So just... like... It's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's okay. You don't have to be amazing. I know you got 10 out of 10 plus the bonus on the minor league logos.
Oh, damn.
But it's okay to go 8 for 9 on the grid. It's all right. You don't have to know it all.
I'm sorry. I projected that as like a huge insecurity. I was actually kind of laughing under my like scowl right there.
Now, here's what I got to say. For the Mets and the Dodgers, Scherzer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a classic.
Because I feel like people wouldn't... Because how long was he with the Dodgers?
Yeah, you associate him pretty heavily with the Nationals. And that's an interesting one, too. When there's another one that includes the Dodgers, I'll look to Yu Darvish in a similar capacity because he wasn't there for a long time.
Well, how long was Scherzer with the Dodgers? For like half a season?
He was a deadline pickup, I want to say. Yeah, let's go Scherzer. That's so interesting to picture him there. I can see this being a high percentage too, though. All right. Don Mattingly was a manager for the Dodgers, and he played for the Yankees. I don't think that counts, though.
Cardinals and the Dodgers. Did Matt Holliday play for the Dodgers?
I don't think so. I know that he went back to Colorado after his time at St. Louis.
I could have swore he played for the Dodgers for a minute.
He might have. If he did, it was limited and short, but that's... I'm trying to think of like an obscure reliever. Like, I want to say LaTroy Hawkins did this, but LaTroy Hawkins also played for 12 teams.
You go back to the LaTroy Hawkins.
I know, I don't want to use that. All right, so here's something. I know that people that maybe tuned into the first grid that we did on here, they know that my universal cheat for these is either Kenny Lofton, LaTroy Hawkins, Rich Hill. Those 3 played for, I'm pretty sure they have all 30 teams covered.
Hey, Rich Hill, Dodgers and Cardinals? Did Rich Hill play for the Cardinals?
You're the Cardinal guy?
I don't know.
I mean, he played for enough. If they had Long Island Ducks on there and Dodgers, we could put Rich Hill.
What about did Skip Schumacher play for the Dodgers?
He might have.
Pull out your Dodgers and Yankees knowledge. I'll keep thinking about the Cardinals, Dodgers.
All right, we're gonna divide and conquer.
Yeah.
This is just. We might need to put a Mike Piazza in the middle. Just because.
You got no Dodger Yankee for me?
You know, it's interesting too. Like, nothing just screams out. I mean, this is. I'm trying to think of who would have been with him when they were in Brooklyn. The Dodgers.
Cardinals and Dodgers. I want to say Colby Rasmus.
Yeah?
But he could have
I
went.
think you might be right there.
Did he go somewhere else or did he go to the Dodgers? Because I remember I was in St. Louis with my parents. This is the funny story I can add. And we were at dinner at Mike Shannon's, which Mike Shannon was the radio guy for the Cardinals for a really long time. I think he passed away last year, maybe the year before. We were at Mike Shannon's restaurant. We were eating, and Tony La Russa, the manager,
Oh, nice.
was at the restaurant, and he was at the table behind us. And my dad went over to ask for an autograph and a picture with
Oh, that's cool.
me and my mom and my brothers and all that. So we got the picture, and then after I came back to the table, I was like, Dad, I'm gonna go ask him why we traded Colby Rasmus.
Oh.
Because I really
All right,
liked,
you know what? You got to put it on now.
because I really liked Colby Rasmus, and I want to know why we traded him. And just imagine
just like,
Tony
"Son."
La Russa, like this like 8-year-old, 9-year-old comes up to him and goes, why did we trade Colby Rasmus? Oh, man.
And whoever he's with is just like,
My mom and dad were like, do not go ask him that.
like, I'm trying to think of like the social equivalent of just like some standard workplace. What would that sentence be? Just some little kid running up to somebody's boss. Why did my dad not get a raise? Oh man, I say roll. Let's roll with Rasmus.
Because of the
it
story.
seems like it's too good to be true now.
Shit. I don't know where he got shoot. I don't know where he got traded to.
We can let that slide. You know what? Oh dear. All right. I feel like we just got to put Piazza in the middle. But you know what? I kind of think the LaTroy Hawkins one will work.
Do you want to just try it for the Dodgers Yankees just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know what? Yeah, like if we get,
Okay.
I'm gonna find where Colby Rasmus got traded. Here we go. Are we pulling the trigger on?
LaTroy Hawkins, Dodgers Yankees.
I'm almost certain he did.
Okay. Nope.
Are we? Oh goodness. We got 6 out of 9, and we're gonna put this on the air. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna put it on the air. We're gonna figure this out.
Yeah,
All right,
dude,
Colby
it's hard,
Rasmus
dude.
got traded to the Blue Jays, where he was there for 4 years. Then he was with Houston, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore. All right, not a big deal. We are going to see LaTroy Hawkins played for every single team in America except one of the 2 that we have. All right, Twins, Cubs, Giants, Orioles, Rockies, Yankees, Astros, Brewers, Angels, Mets, and Blue Jays.
There you go.
I've never seen all the numbers on his is just awesome.
There's a
Oh,
lot
you
of
look at you
Cardinal
pulling
ones.
it up. There we go. Yeah. So who was the leader? I always like kind of taking a look and seeing what the leaders are, just because then you just feel like you're ignorant of, oh, how did I not think of that guy?
Well, we weren't trying to think of the. We weren't trying to think.
You know,
of the
I will
obvious
also say this though, of if you talked about like athletic trainers that just know players like the back of their hands from their profession. I think that for viewership capabilities, it's probably more enticing to hear our commentary through the struggle rather than just some dude that can just whip them out.
Yeah, absolutely. People don't want to see us get 100% every time. The hell's
I know, yeah. So
That's
for
not
the
very
sake of
fun.
this, like, yeah, Like our best performing episode, I think to this point was the 8 out of 9 one that we put together. So
Aaron Judge, Derek Jeter, Joey Gallo, Mike Piazza, David Wright, Jose Reyes, Albert Pujols, Ozzie Smith, and Albert Pujols.
yeah, I mean that sounds commendable.
Let's see what
I don't think that we missed.
The hardest one for everybody was Mets Gold Glove.
Really?
Seems like it.
I mean, that's some serious business right there. What was the average? What was the average boxes that people got? If you go all the way up to the top, I know that's up there.
6.8.
All right. I mean, we could have got the low-hanging fruit with Piazza and given us a 7. So we're above average. There we go.
You could have got all the boxes if you really wanted to. If you just put in the obvious one.
We just went straight for it right there. Yeah, the Pujols selection, that's one that I admit I didn't think of, and I kind of am upset at myself for that.
Oh, the Dodgers and the Cardinals, that's right.
Dodger Cardinal, yeah, I didn't even think about Pujols there. That's an easy one. Yeah, well, and then that's part of the joy too, all right? Think of the people that have the courage to go in the public forum and say these things.
Can you check me on Matt Holliday for the Cardinals and the Dodgers?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually a good point.
I want to see if that's true. Probably not, but I want to see if it's true.
I mean, this is part of the fun too, because again, we were just talking about like if you go to the golf course and see somebody just chunk one into the ground and the ball goes 3 feet, like at least they're out there getting better. I mean, I don't want to come up with that being an excuse for our subpar immaculate grid performance today. We did get MLB Pickle in 5. Before we forget about this, if you've made it this far in the episode, we started off with the highest of highs. All right, Matt Holliday. Started in Colorado, then he went to Oakland briefly, then he was in St. Louis, and then he did go to New York. He was a Yankee.
Oh, I was thinking
he was back with the Rockies. Yeah, okay, so we would have been safe. I think that's funny too, because I think we started speaking into existence other teams. Like he went to the Dodgers. Well, we saw Dodgers, Yankees. And it's like the Munoz thing where we were saying Pirates and Padres. I think that you start just subliminally, your own subconscious sees the team logos and you start creating images in your mind.
That's what's fun about it.
You never know.
You have an idea and then you think it's right. And then you click on it and you're like, wait a minute, what? How did Jorge Posada not win a Gold Glove? Doesn't make any sense. Who else?
We need to actually check that out. The American League ones.
That's what I want to know. Who won it over Jorge Posada?
Sorry, well, let's pull it up right now. AL catcher, Gold Glove.
2000
by year.
2000, whatever years he was with the Yankees.
All right, by year. Here we go. American League winners. It was Pudge.
Yeah, I bet.
All right,
now that I think about it.
From 1992 to 2001, 10 consecutive Gold Gloves. And then it was Benji Molina, and then it was Pudge, Jason Varitek, Pudge for 2 years, Joe Mauer for 3 years, Matt Wieters for 2 years, Salvador Perez for 4 years.
I knew it had to be Pudge getting in the way. I didn't even think about that while we were doing it.
That's a good. I mean, it's a good thing that it's a consistent performer, though, because like,
how many years in a row did Yachty win that Gold Glove?
All right, I'll go to National League now. National League winners. Yachty or Molina, he won it 8 years in a row.
Wow.
And then 9 in 11 years. Jeez. That's impressive. I mean, that's a good point, though, because you start seeing all of these different layers that go into it. I'm pleased that we at least picked somebody that was a very viable candidate, because there's a good chance if it weren't for Ivan Rodriguez, we would have been correct. And again, that's the fun of this, too, is because you learn about these different instances, and I think that's part of the joy of, I will admit, if I get one wrong early, my effort just goes down a cliff because I know that I can't get it perfect anymore.
I don't think I've ever.
So you know what? That's what it is.
Full transparency to everybody and to you, Wick. I don't think I've ever gotten one full by myself ever.
Really?
No, ever. Not a single time.
Hey, I applaud the admission first and foremost.
So when we get 8 or when we when we got 8 out of 9 on our first one and we got 6 out of 9, I was like, that's pretty good. Because I never get that far.
I had somebody's DM the Night Pitch account talking about, how did you not think of this guy? And I was just like, this is pure baseball. All right, that's what we do. Is we do pure baseball at this point. But
yeah, watch the next one. Say watch the next one. You'll see a lot that we forget about.
Oh my goodness. Well, fortunately, if you guys made it this far in the episode, you got the taste of a very successful game that we performed to get this thing kicked off. I'm trying to think of other games that we can play. I mean, if there's any suggestions that any viewers have, we can most definitely cook this up on an episode. I know that Sporkle's got some that goes. I know that we could do...
We should get 2 guests on here and do a Kahoot.
There we go. We actually should do that. That'd be an absolute blast. And we'll pick the questions for each other. And that'll be good.
Yeah. Every person puts in like 4 questions. So then you have 4 that you know, and then the other whatever don't know.
Oh man, that's pretty good. We can get this rolling. I'm sure we could make that work, and we can have a point system. Oh man, go back to old school, just high school status with the Kahoots. This, you know what? We might actually just put this into existence right here. If you're interested, by all means, anybody tuning in, we'll get this thing cooked up right there. Evan, you got some final thoughts for us? You got any recaps right here? Anything that you want to say to either justify our performance or inspire the masses?
I thought we did pretty good.
I thought we did all right. All things considered, we could have picked the low-hanging fruits and done pretty solid.
I thought we did pretty good, but I wasn't concerned with doing really good in the first place. So
that's true. And that's part of the fun of it too, is you go in, you're nice and casual. I will admit, of all the grids that I've done, I actually struggled with this one a lot more than some of the others that I've put together. There was one that I got like 2 and I was stuck. And it was after a streak where I think I got all 9 consistently. But you know what? We're here to be organic. We didn't even know we were going to play this. So you know that it wasn't fabricated, because this was just our thing of... We were anticipating doing MLB Pickle for a whole 30 minutes, and that ended up not happening. But needless to say, we're going to keep continuing cooking up some exciting business right here. We're going to play some other games moving forward. Now that we've got the production detail cooking with logos in our last episode, which if you haven't checked out episode 19, I highly encourage you to do so, because my performance in our game in the second half of that episode was immensely better than what we had cooking up in the second half of this episode. Except for a wild Jeremy Pena that was thrown together, but that's all right. It happens. I'm not also, if I didn't think of Jeremy Pena, this second half of the episode would just be a colossal mess on multiple accounts.
You never know. We could have got there.
Oh my goodness. That would have been a lot of fun right there. Well, we are going to put this out to you guys. That's what we're going to do. I mean, we can't necessarily put you guys on the MLB Pickle results, but we can certainly inspire you guys to check this out. And that's what we hopefully do as we continue to build the enthusiasm for you guys to take this into your own lives. We'll keep playing all sorts of business, but closing things that I've got for you guys, no matter what territory it be, if you're the bucket person, if you're on home run duty, if you're filling out immaculate grid, you can find a way to have a good time while you're doing it. You're doing something right, and that's what we are here to do. You are listening, watching, tuning in. I don't know why I said listening. That was my default. I've been listening to a lot of radio broadcasts right now. Maybe they are just listening to the Night Pitch.
Some of them do just listen.
That's true. We're going to hit the reset button there. Good Lord. Immaculate Grid has me fried all of a sudden. Once again, thank you all for tuning in to the Night Pitch, an absolute blast, alongside the legend himself, Evan Johnson. Evan, thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Episode 19, we'll be cooking up episode 20 shortly. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Turn down the lights, turn down the bed, turn down these lights inside my